Money in politics. We've had the Supreme Court and some other court decisions really chipping away at laws that have been put up over half a century to make the government look less corrupt. And Citizens United in 2010 was the really big one. People were like, this decision will unleash a flood of money. It's going to blow people's minds. The monopoly man is going to send democracy directly to jail. And not everyone actually agrees that that has happened, but it's an argument. Like today, the New York Times had this incredible story. Fully half of all the money that's been raised in this campaign so far has come from just 150 really rich dudes. And that's like not how it was before. This is new and unusual. So I wanted to ask, we'll start with Bill, what has changed? How does this change campaigning? Help us understand what's going on.
Well, it's a disaster, basically, that such a small group of people can give so much money and have that kind of influence on a presidential campaign, or any level campaign, really. The Supreme Court opened the door to corporations giving money, which is a whole new floodgate of cash that's flowing into these elections.
What is the DCCC? That's the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, and it helps organize candidates. Give you some helpful pointers.
Yeah, I mean, its purpose is to help candidates win elections and put more Democrats in the House of Representatives. It was, I worked there in 2005 and 2006 when Rahm Emanuel was the chairman, and I lived to tell the tale. But it was, every day was great. We won the House back, Nancy Pelosi became Speaker, and it was a lot of fun. Anyway, the reason that they encourage candidates to spend 20, 30, 40 hours a week on the phone is because the way that you can communicate with voters is putting ads on television or doing them digitally or sending mail to voters and letting them know who you are, what you stand for, and why you disagree with the other person on whatever issue it is. I have a lot of respect for wanting to run a campaign where you don't spend all your time on the phone, because it's a lot more, first of all, it's a lot more gratifying to be out and talking to people, talking to voters and educators and small business owners and all the people in the district who are making things go. And that has to be an important part of it. But as long as the rules are what the rules are, the only way that you can win is if you can put the resources in the bank to actually communicate what you're saying to people. Because you can't go out and actually meet every single person in your district and convince them to vote for you. There's a chance you could meet a majority of the people in your district, but you can't have a persuading conversation with each one of them. So the best you can do, and the reason that there are ads on TV are so that you can do the best you can to make your case either in 30 seconds or in a mail piece. And that's why the DCCC does what they do. But I fully respect not wanting to do that because it sucks. Right?
Just because, and I want you to talk most of the time, but just because the DCCC has a reason, and you're absolutely right. I mean, we didn't have the money to run enough ads. Were we able to run more ads? It's like I said, it was a Republican district. We probably still would have won, but it still doesn't make it okay for that to be the motivator. And this is what you have to do. You have to raise money. Yes, there are rules that are in place that make it impossible to win if you don't raise money, but I'm still not going to sell my soul to the devil or to the devil of money in order to run a campaign.
Let me pick up on that as somebody who's actually run, not counting presidential races, 40 elections, primaries and generals, 132 of them. And in almost every one, I was outspent. Almost every single one of them, I was outspent. So, what do? How do you get your message out? And I don't care if you started the career 50 years ago or 5 days ago. The fact of the matter is, the enduring way that you can win campaigns at a district level, I'm speaking from my own experience, not from theory, is that you make an intensive effort to get out and reach people. In a period of 2 years, with the help of a very skilled scheduler and campaign assistant, I was able, in the greater Cleveland area, to cover over 2,000 events. If people were gathered in a telephone booth, I was there. It didn't matter, just to contact people. And that's the first thing. The second thing is to be active on local issues that have saliency with local constituencies, to show people how you would solve the challenges that exist at a community level. And I was very involved in that. And being involved in local issues, you actually find a way to get media for free. The idea that paid media is the only way is not necessarily true. And then there's the change that's taken place with social media today, the ability to really organize people without having to spend a lot of money. And then as I moved on to Congress for a period of 16 years, most of the fundraising we did was on the internet. And we were able to raise money to stay competitive with candidates who were raising a tremendous amount of money from political action committees. And with respect to the DCCC, I had my own experience. When I got elected to Congress on my 5th try over a period of 25 years. It's a lot of door knocking. And when I won the nomination in 1996, the first thing that happened is the DCCC knocked on my door. They said, here's $62,500 or whatever. Now give us the keys to your campaign. And I directed them to a district far south of this planet. And told them that I really didn't need their support because I understood my district, and after the election I'd be glad to talk to them. When I was in Washington, I met with the head of the DCCC. We had a big, we had a good laugh over that. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't control your own campaign, these ideas of campaigns being run by remote control from Washington is bad news, because they care even less about the people you represent. And the other thing is, while I'd like to think that being a Democrat makes someone a little bit more honorable, less corruptible, and less able to be bought, I'd like to think that. But when the Democrats started to take corporate contributions years ago from the same people the Republicans were raising money from, it really blurred the differences between the two parties. So then our caucus meetings, as a Democrat, we'd have these caucus meetings every week, and we talked about 3 things at these caucus meetings. Number 1, polls. Number 2, fundraising. Number 3, how bad the Republicans are. And the Republicans had a different approach. They talked about polls, fundraising, and how bad the Democrats were. So, the heart and soul of politics has really been corrupted by campaign spending laws and Supreme Court decisions. But still, each one of us who really cares for people still has the ability to pursue our own path to election.
So the campaign we've got going on right now has this guy in it named Donald Trump. And part of his shtick, not the biggest part, but part of it is, I can't be bought. I used to buy and sell politicians myself, but you can't buy me because I'm so rich. I'm using my own money. And campaign finance reformers like, well, this is what we've been talking about. He's showing you how corrupt the process has been, but at the same time, the fact that he's just able to waltz in because he's rich also shows that the process is broken because money is such a barrier. So, what sort of solutions could there be for this Trump phenomenon?
Well, I actually think that Donald Trump's message on campaign finance is one of the reasons that he's got such durable support. It's because people, that minority of Americans who look at Donald Trump giving a finger to the system and calling other politicians out for the sort of influence that they can have with donations, is very attractive to people who are angry with Washington and who believe what Congressman Kucinich just said, that people in Washington don't care about the people in their districts. Like, that is something that's very attractive to them. But, the truth is, as long as we're in this system, that's what it is. Like, people who give huge checks have undue influence, and people who give $2,600 checks or $2,700 checks, which is the max for a congressional campaign, they have undue influence. And the truth is, donors should have some influence, but it shouldn't be that you have to be wealthy and be able to cut a check for $2,700. You should be able to make a contribution of $25 or $50 and still have some influence over your government and these campaigns. But I do have to take exception with what Congressman Kucinich is saying, that people in Washington, be it at the DCCC or somewhere else, not caring about folks in the district. It's not true. The people who work at those committees are dedicated progressives who went to Washington because they actually did care about communities. And they did care about the issues
Well,
that
that might be
Democrats
true of
matter.
you
I'm
and
going to finish
some,
my
but
point.
I have a
I'm
different
going to finish my
experience.
point. And so for you to insult those people and say that they don't
Is
care,
it campaign speech?
it's just frankly not true.
What was the insult?
Oh, he was just saying that the folks there don't care about people in the districts, and that's not true. Like, they went to Washington because they did care about folks out across the country.
I don't know if everybody goes to
You
Washington
know,
because they care
let
about
me
it.
answer him, okay? Look, I'm not a theoretician on this. I've been there. And let me give you an example. Nancy Pelosi is a friend of mine. We took over the leadership of the Congress. I was a committee, chairman of a subcommittee, terrific. But when we had sufficient information to put an impeachment against George Bush, she wouldn't touch it. And I just say that was of interest to my constituents. When we had, later on, the ability as a party to block the bailouts of Wall Street, no, you know, Wall Street had its hooks into our leaders as well, which devastated Main Street with the practices of hedge funds. So, you know, I'm not going to get moist-eyed about what party politicians do and what they say and how they care about people at a community level. One of the reasons why you're seeing tectonic shifts in the plates of politics in this country today is that people are waking up a little bit more and understanding that Washington doesn't give a damn about them. There's a bubble inside the Beltway. I know this. I saw it. I fought it for 16 years. And so, you know, I appreciate everybody who cares and goes to Washington with the best intentions to work, even those at the DCCC, great. Thank you for doing that. But excuse me, you know, I have 16 years of experience that I can go back on, and I see how money has corrupted the system, has corrupted both political parties, and has created the necessity of a third way in American politics that can challenge both parties' hegemony and the hold that corporations have on both parties.